Yes, hello everyone. Well, my name is Overkleeft, and I'm from Amsterdam, and I work on creative projects for cities of the future. And one of them is the Nightmare Foundation. And that's why I'm here, to talk to you about nightlife. First, I wanted to ask you something. Who of you is going out tonight? Yes, good. And who of you have met their lover, boyfriend, girlfriend in nightlife? See, yeah, okay. So yeah, nightlife is really a great place. Great things happen. You go on adventure with your friends, you go dancing, you go clubbing. And that's because you think in possibilities and not in limitations. Because you don't meet your boyfriend or girlfriend in the supermarket, probably. And yeah, that's why the nightlife is such a great place to develop creative talent. Because you think in possibilities and you break with everyday life conventions. As you can see here on the picture, this is just one party. And you have a lot of DJs, VJs, stage builders, dancers, a lot of things happening there. So a lot of talent gets developed there. One of the examples that you can start with an idea in nightlife and develop that into a business. Here you see the chimneys at the Olympics in 2012. They were made by Airworks, and they started as a bunch of creatives in a nightclub, a famous nightclub called the Roxy. And now they have clients like the Olympics to work for. Another example is Amsterdam Dance Event. Does anybody know that? No, you really should. You should visit. It's in October. It's one of the biggest dance events of the world. And it's in Amsterdam, and it has over 2,000 international artists and like over 200 venues. The whole city is one big party. But not only a party, also a conference with a lot of meetups, and people go there for networking and develop their businesses. So both examples show you that nightlife can really give an impulse to your business. And that's why it's such a cultural and economic value for a city. It's also a place for the creative development, like I told you. And also it can give a boost to local economy and urban development. As we see in Amsterdam, we see that nightlife, if we create incubators like nightclubs for certain areas, and they're redeveloped, they get more attractive. There's a good example for that, that's Berlin. Berlin is famous for its nightlife. And like 10, 15 years ago, it was a really poor city. And they gave free the nightlife, so a lot of young artists went to Berlin. And they developed their business there, started their projects, a lot of young creative people. And over the years, it became one of the most famous cities in the world for its nightlife. But it was also because it had a lot of space and cheap rent. Another example of that is Detroit. Now, because of the crisis, it's also a really poor city, but it has a lot of space and lots of potential for young artists to develop themselves. In Amsterdam, we don't have a lot of space. we're not really poor. It's actually really packed and a small town. If you've been there, you know that. But we do acknowledge the fact that you need these young creatives to make your city attractive. You should acknowledge these people. They're really worth a city. They're really of huge value for the city. On a social level, cultural level, and economic level. And there are also, if you develop an area, when the young creatives come there, they make the area more attractive. But then what happens mostly is the rents go up, and the residential areas getting built, and offices come there. And then the young creatives, they have to find another place. So it's really important for a city that you give the attention to the young creatives that started that, because without them, there's no diversity in an area. And that's what we do with the Nightmare. We want to stimulate the diversity. We're an independent organization dedicated to ensure a dynamic nightlife. We do that by creating a mutual understanding between the municipality, the business owners and the residents. And we create a dialogue with the municipality because Most people that work at the local government or at the mayor's office, the civil servants, they don't have a clue about what's going on in nightlife. Or they're not interested, or they're only interested if there's a problem. So we informed them about what's going on there. In 2003, we started with the Night Mayor. It wasn't really an organization yet, it was just one person and didn't really was connected to the municipality. And over the years, the role became bigger. Here you see the elections of 2014, and maybe you recognize this guy. It's the mayor of Athens. He visited us. He visited our mayor, and he came to the elections, so that was really nice. Yeah, so in 2012, Mirik Milan, who I work together, he is the night mayor, and he got elected. So we have official elections for a night mayor. As a candidate, you really have to have a plan, a vision. What are you going to offer to the city? Do you have a professional network? Do you have a big social network? What is your vision for the nightlife of the city? And how are you gonna realize that? Since 2014, we are an official non-profit organization. And the stakes are getting higher. So actually it's now pretty serious business. We meet with the mayor around 3 to 4 times a year. And we're also really close to his staff. We advise him about nightlife, about what's going on. And what's really important is that we're not a trade organization alone. We don't represent only the interests of the club owners or festival organizers, but we also represent the young creatives that I just talked about and all different stakeholders. Okay, so how do we work? We spot trends. We know exactly what's going on in the city. Where are the new venues? What kind of subcultures are there? What kind of music is there? Are there any complaints? Stuff like that. And with this information, we can start a dialogue with these club owners and the mayor's office and all these different stakeholders. We do that by organizing events. So we organize round table meetings or nightly debates about certain issues that are actual in Amsterdam. And by all of that together, we can stimulate balance and the diversity within the city. And yeah, so we actually doing quite a lot of work, and the future is looking really bright. Internationally, we get a lot of attention now. There is a night mayor in Paris, a night mayor in Toulouse. Berlin has a club commission that's kind of the same organization. And London is also thinking of realizing an organization like that. Even Japan and Oman and China, they're all wanting to interview us and asking us for a talk, like here in Greece. It's really awesome. And yeah, it's really, this is the Nightmare Summit, and this is our big event. That's an international event for all people that are active in nightlife, who organize parties, but also researchers from universities that are in the cultural department or in the economic department, because what I just said is of real economic value for a city. And also delegates from all the European cities. Everybody's coming together here to talk about all these things that a city can benefit from. And so far, I only talked about the good things in nightlife. You know, it's cultural value, and you can party, of course. But there's also a downside to it, like noise pollution, heavy drinking, violence, all that kind of stuff. We also work on that. But there are two options to deal with that as a city. Either you just lock down nightlife, and you have a conservative policy for it, like they did in Sydney. This is just 1 month ago. They implemented the lockout law, and that means that every bar should close at 3 a.m. And from 1:30 a.m. they cannot let people in anymore. So the people of Sydney, they weren't really happy, and they went out on the streets, thousands of them. They start demonstrating against these laws. So this is one way of dealing with it. But there's also a way you can try to come up with innovative solutions. That's what we try to do in Amsterdam. Here you can see the Rembrandt Square. This is one of the entertainment areas, it's so called in Amsterdam, with a lot of bars and nightclubs. But it was a really dodgy place. You don't want to be there at night, a lot of violence. So the municipality started a project together with all the hospitality and the police. They started adapting the facilities, so they made a new light plan together with Philips, so there were less dark spots on the square. And they also introduced the host. The host is a person you can go and ask about information. Where can I go eat? Where can I go out? What kind of music is there? And there are the eyes and the ears of the police, because the police is more on the background now. And at first they were on the square. But because of more progressive policy in Amsterdam, they are more on the background, and the hosts are there to welcome people and to make them feel more safe. And because of that, the visitors and the residents feel more safe and welcome, and it's a better vibe for everyone. So I'm really happy to work on that project. With Nightmare, that's what we do. We work on a vibrant nightlife, but also a safe nightlife, for all the different stakeholders and also the visitors, the tourists, and the residents of the city. I have only one question left for you. Do you think Athens need a night mayor, and who would that be? I would like you to think about that. And if you have an idea, please come up to me later, and we can talk about that. Thank you for your attention. You can ask me anything.